Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the January 10th, 2022 organizational meeting of the Evergreen Board of Education. This is an organizational meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There's a time for public participation during the regular meeting as indicated on the regular meeting agenda. The treasurer, please call the roll.
Mr. Beckler?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mrs. Keeper?
Here.
Okay, first item, I now take nominations for board president.
I nominate Nora Kiefer.
Second. Any other nominations? Okay. Moved by Jason Miller and supported by myself. To close nominations for board president and instruct the treasurer the following names vote for Nora Kiefer.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
All right. At this time, we'll move to elect nomination for the board vice president.
I nominate Jason Miller. Second.
All right. So at this time, we have a motion by Matt and supported by Don to close nominations for the board vice president and instruct the treasurer to cast a unanimous vote for Jason Miller. Roll call, or I'm sorry,
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Abstain.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
yes. All right, we'll move on to set dates and times for the regular meetings. I need a motion to set the third Monday of each month at 6 as the date and time for regular meetings in the 2022 school year, except for February 22nd, which would be the third Tuesday.
Or
All right,
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
yes. We're going to need a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes for the previous meetings for 2022.
So moved. Support.
Roll.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carries. Need a motion to limit the pay for board members to a maximum of 13 meetings for 2022.
So moved. Support.
Roll.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carries. All right, here we need to appoint a legislative liaison for the 2022 school year. I believe, is that usually me? Does anybody else want it? All right. So we'll appoint Nora Kiefer as the 2022 legislative liaison for the Evergreen Local Board of Education. I just need a motion.
So moved. Support.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carries. Now we need to appoint 2 board members for the audit committee. Okay, Deb
Yeah.
and Don. All right, so I need a motion to appoint Zach Murray and Don Smith to the 2022 audit committee for the Evergreen Local Board of Education.
Support.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes. Next, we need a motion to establish a 2022 Public Records Commission for the Evergreen Local Board of Education. That would include the board president, superintendent, and treasurer.
Support.
Roll call.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes. Our next motion is to establish a 2022 board service fund at $5,000 to cover expenses of board members related to attending meetings or other board business as allowed by state law.
So moved. Support.
Roll.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper.
Yes. Our next motion is to authorize the treasurer to invest funds, pay bills within appropriations, and seek advanced draws of taxes from the Fulton and Lucas counties for 2022.
So moved. Support.
Roll call.
Mr. Beckett,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper.
Yes, motion carries. At this time, we need a motion to authorize the superintendent to be the purchasing agent for all purchases up to $35,000, approve expenditures for student activity accounts, and to approve staff leaves and professional meetings for 2022.
So moved. Support.
Roll call.
Mr. Beckett,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper.
Yes, motion carries. At this time, we just need a motion to adjourn the 2022 organizational meeting of the Evergreen Local Board of Education.
So moved. Support.
Roll call.
Mr. Beckett,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper.
Yes. All right, here we are. It's 5:51. Would you like, I'm gonna wait till 6. We're gonna call the January 10th board meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Beckett,
Here.
Mr. Murray,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mrs. Keeper.
Here, this time we'll do a pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, does anyone desire to add, delete, or separate any items of our consent agenda as proposed? No? All right, I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented for the regular board meeting on January 10th, 2022.
So moved. Support.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Beckett,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper.
Yes, motion carries. This time, we need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on December 20th of 2021.
So moved. Support.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Beckett,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper.
Yes, motion carries. At this time, is there any board members with correspondence? All right. Carol, Mr. Small, all right. Mr. Small, will you continue with recognizing our guests and visitors?
Sure, we have a few visitors with us. Will you please just introduce yourself?
Dr. Dolores Swinford,
Dan Cruz.
Brady Roofer.
Brett Miller.
Kelly Johnson,
Bill Beckman, Dallas Gross. Andrew Gee. Trevor Smith. Rick Hines. Devin Grant.
Derek Self.
Ben Taylor.
Thank you very much. At this time, we do not have anyone registered to address the board, so we'll continue on to our financial reports. Mr. Carroll?
All reports for this month. You see the first one is the cash reconciliation. That is where all of the money is, literally the physical location. The next report shows the funds appropriated by object level and fund. So you will see what we have appropriated, what we have budgeted so far this year, what we spent, and what we have encumbered so far. Next report is our cash summary. And this is how much money is in each fund broken down by fund. Next one you'll see is our disbursement summary. These are all of the checks that we have issued, whether they're outstanding or they have been reconciled. The next one is the general fund graph. This is showing your revenue that we've received this December compared to last December. And again, with the forecast in the last column there. We'll also show our expenses. Money that we've spent this month compared to last month at this time, or last year at this time. Right now, we are 50% of the way through the year, so we are right on track. And then at the bottom, you'll see our cash balance. We are pretty close to aligning where we were last year. We did have the first payment of the athletic facility come out of the general fund. So you'll see that little dip there. comparing to last year. Typically, it's right in line with where we are from the previous year, but that's the little difference. Back to that is a report just on payroll and benefits. So again, we are right on track to where we were last year at this time. Payroll is up a little bit, and that's mainly a timing issue with getting reimbursed for federal grants. So. And the last page there, I want to give you guys a little cheat sheet. So going back to the very first report that you guys have, that cash reconciliation, you'll see that $13,551,000. And how we balance the books is the cash summary report, the very last number of the fund balance. You'll see those both highlighted in yellow. You have both those reports, but that's how we know that our books are balanced each month, is by comparing those two numbers. Just want to give you guys that little cheat sheet. And that is all I have.
Hey, Brian. So on the food. We're positive 32,000.
That is how much literally cash is in that fund, 006, yes. That one is probably negative in the last column, but that's because we had a year-long PO out. So we've kind of tied up money, knowing that money it's working its way down, but that's to be expected.
Any further questions for Mr. Carroll? All right. So at this time, we're going to need a motion to approve the December 2021 financial reports. You'll also need a motion to approve the 5-year forecast and debt schedule as a tax budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st of 2022. The tax budget is required to be filed with the Polk County Auditor. So at this time, I just need a motion to approve the preceding financial motions, reports, and other financial items.
So moved. Support.
Questions or discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carries. At this time, we're going to move on to other business. And I'm only going to highlight a few spots instead of reading the whole thing for everyone. But we need a motion to approve a resolution determining to proceed and proposing the renewal of an annual tax levy on school district income, which is revised code 5748.02. I'm going to move to section 2, the question of imposing a 0.25% school district income tax for the purpose of providing for the current expense of the board to take effect on January 1st of 2023 and run for 5 years, shall be submitted pursuant to chapter 5748 of the revised code to the electors of the school district at the election to be held on May 3rd of 2022. So at this time, I just need a motion to approve the above resolution. Any questions or discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yeah.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carries. All right, next we're going to move on to the approval of an overnight trip for the Evergreen wrestling team to participate in the Division III state duels at Sandusky St. Mary's High School. The team will compete against other teams from throughout the state. The team will depart on January 28th, and the team plans to return on January 29th. Coaches Dalton Nicely, Jesse Beverly, and Andrew Bailey will be trip supervisors.
So moved. Support.
Questions or discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carries. We'll move on to approve an overnight trip for the high school music department, our students and advisors, Chris Lyons, Rob Stearman, Luke Rosen, and others to be named adult chaperones for bus travel to Disney World in Orlando, Florida. The trip is planned for Saturday, March 12th of 2022 through Wednesday, March 16th of 2022. Students will perform at special venues located in the Disney complex. The estimated cost of the trip is $925 per student and will be funded through a combination of student fees, student fundraising, and money contributed from the Evergreen Music Boosters.
Moved. Support.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Keeper?
Yes, motion carried. At this time, Mr. Small, would you like to take over discussion and information?
Yeah, I wanted to present our bullying report for the first semester of this school year. Based on district policy for the definition of bullying, we did have 2 incidents of bullying during the first semester. One was at the middle school, one was at the high school. Both were addressed by the administration and resolved. So it's we need to report this twice a year for semester and second. So we unfortunately did have 2, but got them taken care of for the first semester.
When you said the definition of bullying, do we get that from the Ohio Department of Education, or is that something, the definition lined up? Like
Our
somewhere?
policy mirrors the state definition for bullying.
Okay, all right.
All educational institutions throughout the state. The next item that I had was an update on the construction project, but I believe that was part of Mr. Miller's presentation with facilities, so I will defer to him on that one and answer any questions that he may not be able to answer.
Okay, anybody have any more questions for Mr. Small? All right, Mr. Miller, your turn.
All right. Construction update so far, they are training floors right now as we speak. They are hoping to have the epoxy within next week or the following week laid. They're going to grind and do the baseboard epoxy this week. It just depends how their schedule works out when they're gonna get back to the floor. The bleachers were installed last week in the films room, so those look nice. The fire alarms, once the inspection is complete, or once our prints are complete from this addition of the building, then they will redo their prints down there and get that all approved. Once that's approved, we'll work on finals for the north end of the project, and as soon as that approval is granted, we will move everything to the south side, and they will start demolition over there. Fire alarms, they're getting more devices for the prints, or for the code, and updating all that stuff to bring it up to code. We have edge the ball field, got baselines, and around the dugouts. I know there's a little bit of a couple areas that need to get addressed, but it's actually grass got cut in too far, so we're gonna put some grass in there to help even that out. This fall we did spread for spray for crabgrass and other weeds, and the spring we'll put a starter fertilizer on the fields and oversee practice fields. And then looking ahead this summer, I'd like to get garage doors replaced out of the football field, in the old concession stand, and so you can move Wi-Fi and things like that, or make it easier to get stuff in and out with there. And then we're working with Fred Ballhart on getting bids for the repavement of the high school parking lot once the project or the new additions are all done.
I have questions for you.
Yes.
With the fire inspection from last week, there's a few deficiencies. Are those things that those have to be completed still? They're working on those?
Everything is functional. Everything was functional since in school year. Deficiencies are there was not enough factors put in. There's some.
I saw like some new line, electrical lines need.
Yeah, new electrical lines need to be ran, and then new codes say that there needs to be duct detectors where a sheriff tunnel is used, and those were not installed, so they're adding those in. Also, some COs were not installed, so they're adding those in as well.
That's all through Transtar.
That's all through transfer. Yeah.
Anything with the roofs still in the elementary school, or is it we haven't got time to talk to you since?
We are working on, I actually talked to the guy, roof building, is the expansion joints that are leaking right now, they cracked. And I got a quote that to replace them, actually it's quite expensive to go out there and have them freshly reinstalled.
Is that something they should go and roof it, or is that?
No, it's a totally different
So,
project. Yep.
and then, just with the new addition, this might be for Brian too, with the maintenance and with the additional expenses, has that been looked at as well as far as what's coming in the budget? Obviously, more equipment.
But then
Just with the new expansion, I mean, obviously, there's more cost.
as far as maintenance goes, when Brett and I sit down in the spring,
Okay,
yeah, in a few months, we'll look at that. As far as equipment, like weight room equipment,
just overall, equipment maintenance, equipment cost.
we added.
We proved that in December.
Okay.
That's
Is
I
that,
would
Tyler Athletics coming out at all?
When I talked to him this fall, he was swamped, he's looking all the way up to the spring, so probably not.
Was it in the contract? When we put it in, he was supposed to come back out.
He came out and did the aeration and that,
Yeah,
and then we had got a quote for ongoing maintenance, so that.
Right. Did he sit down with you and let you know what you have to do?
we've talked about having him come out probably this winter to come out and talk to me about what he wants done and how he wants to handle it.
Before baseball season starts and softball?
We contacted him and set a date.
And then are we gonna edge the outside?
Yeah, we'll touch that up. That's like where the stone actually came into the grass.
No, the infield. Like the baselines are done, but like around home plate. the pitcher
Okay,
foul.
yeah, we'll get that. Just use the hand measure for that.
Anything further, Commissioner? Nope, all right.
Thank you.
A Couple items on my report as we begin the new calendar year and some new terms for some of you. I would like to thank you on behalf of the students, parents, and staff for your commitment to the district. It's a pleasure to work with a group of individuals who care passionately about kids and putting their educational needs first. We appreciate all that you do for the students of Evergreen and the sacrifices you make for this community to be a board member. I'm sure you're not heard enough. Frequently you hear when people are upset, but thank you for all that you do serving the community and the board and in this district. I want to say thank you. Second item was dealing with our strategic planning. Wanted to give a quick update there. Students and staff surveys have been completed. Parent surveys went out this afternoon. We have a 2-week window for parents to get those completed. Once done, we will begin focus groups to analyze the survey results and begin revising the strategic plan. Our goal is to present the revised plan to the board for approval prior to the next school. So we were on a 3-year plan that will be up at the end of this school year. We should have everything in place to make revisions to keep us moving forward to put in front of you at the start of the next school year. And that will be another 3-year plan going forward. Any questions? Go ahead.
Any board members with questions or concerns? Eric, I know when I talked to a few of them, we had a question about if Transtar was responsible at all, if there was any kind of legal with the loss of school days, paying teachers, all that. Is there anything?
We are working with the architect. We wanted to get approval and to make sure that we were back in session. We have not paid the bill to Transtar, and we are holding that to look at.
Okay.
The recommendation from the architect on where we need to go and if we need to look at any legal action or how to handle payment with everything that's transpired, the length of the project, the not passing the initial inspection. So that is all being considered and we have not paid them yet.
Okay. Thank you. Will that be included in our updates? Can we? Thank you. Anybody else with questions or concerns? Nope. All right, there will be an executive session and there will be some action after the executive session today. So I need a motion for the members of the Evergreen Local Board of Education, Superintendent, Treasurer, and invited guests to go into executive session for the following reasons: to prepare for negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees concerning compensation and or other terms and conditions of employment, as well as to consider the employment of public employees.
So, support.
Yeah.
Yeah, one or the other.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Beckler?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yeah.
Mr. Miller? Yes. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Peter?
Yes, motion carried. All right.